Ooh, girl, I like your color. Let me go ahead and give you a little smack.
What are you doing?
What is going on, my beautiful LARPers and LARPettes? Today we're going to go over Zenith's new offering, the Zenith Firearms ZF-5. But before I get too ahead of myself, guys, they did send this firearm out for review, for testing, for free. No payment was involved whatsoever, but I just want to throw that out just so you know. Now, many of you know Zenith has been around for quite a while now, and they were importing some very nice mp5 clones at a pretty reasonable price at the time. But since then, they ended up going their own route and building a US-made mp5 clone. Zenith is very well known in the mp5 clone industry, mostly because everybody who wanted to get into mp5s some years back couldn't afford the HK prices, so they went ahead and picked up Zenith firearms because they were importing their firearms from a company called MKE, and they would bring those into the US, put their Zenith touch on it, then go ahead and give us their goodness for a good price too. MKE was making theirs off of old HK tooling, and basically people were just saying they're HKs but without the HK name, and basically they were too HK spec. But regardless, they were very well made clones, and Zenith did a very good job at importing those clones into the US and selling them to us. Now let me go over what you actually get when you purchase one of these here. You get this nice big Pelican style case that it comes with their logo smack dab in the middle there. Very secure. It also comes with 3 magazines, which is really nice because MP5 magazines are kind of pricey. You get a cleaning kit, instruction manual. You also get a sling, which I think having a sling is a very nice touch. They went above and beyond by just even giving you a sling. It does not come with this SB tactical brace. I'll get into that a little bit later. And it does not come with this forend here. It comes with the plastic forend, but I'll get into that in a second. Now, starting at the front here, you get this nice flash hider that mounts directly onto your tri-lug. And underneath that flash hider, you get a threaded 1/2x28 barrel. So if you wanted to add any type of 1/2x28 suppressor on this, or put a 1/2x28 compensator for whatever reason, you can go right ahead and do that. You also get this tri-lug mount here. And a tri-lug mount is basically my favorite way to put suppressors onto PCC or pistol caliber carbine style firearms. Quick press down and twist. Super easy. Now, one thing to note, and I'm going to be going back and forth to this other gun here. This is the POF-5. Now, this is another MP5 clone that's made off of HK tooling to HK spec, right? So you got MKE that makes them, and you also have POF that makes them. POF is a little bit lesser of a quality than MKE, but the reason why I purchased this one here is because it's a reverse stretch model. And when they had them in stock at Atlantic Firearms, I had to pick one up because I always wanted a reverse stretch. And what a reverse stretch is, for those of you that aren't into MP5s or are just getting into them, it's a K model. So the K model is basically the shorter model of the MP5. And the K models usually come with basically, it's the rear end chopped, and they have some welds on this side and this side where you can't put like a collapsible brace like this, or you can't put like this folding stock on there. They do make adapters that go onto those K models that you can put folding stocks or braces and all that stuff, but they have to be specific to the K model. A reverse stretch is basically the same body as the full-size MP5, but just with a shorter barrel. So they didn't do any chopping of the rear end there. So I can literally just take this brace off and put it on that, and put that brace and put it on that, but it'll probably look funky because that one's a different color. But reverse stretches are a little bit more rare than the normal Ks or this full size here. But going back to what I was trying to get at, on the tri-lug, on the ZF-5, and whenever you put a suppressor on a tri-lug mount, you want to take this thread adapter off, because you don't want that loosening up inside your suppressor, and then that's going to float around, and you're going to have a bad day. So with this little guy here, when I first got it in, I don't know if the coating was way too thick or whatever it is, but it's still kind of a pain in the ass to put this thing on. So when I put my tri-lug on, I got to like smash down on that guy to get it on. So it doesn't go on as quickly as that one there, but it does go on now. When I first got it, I could not for the life of me put that on. And this thread protector is pretty fat where I can't even put my flash hider onto that guy. So if I try to put this guy on there, it just won't lock in unless I took this thread protector off, and it's still kind of a pain in the ass to put the flash hider on. But I just want to point that out for the differences, and I'll get into that towards the end of the video. So moving on to the barrel, it is a cold hammer forged 1 in 10 twist barrel. The accuracy was great on it. I was drilling BC zone steel at 150, 160 yards with no problem whatsoever. Missed. Now if you look on this side, you do have a sling attachment there that you can hook onto the front. You have a fixed hooded front sight with a rear diopter drum here with 4 positions on it. Pretty much your basic iron sight setup, right? Now moving on down to the rail, like I said earlier, it did come with this plastic forend. I took that off after I made the intro and slapped this metal Midwest Industries M-Lock rail on there. And I slapped on this Strike Industries angled foregrip. I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna ask me what that is anyways. It did have that classic look going for it when I had that plastic forend, but I just prefer it to look a little bit more tactical like I do all my other guns. Now the charging handle doesn't feel any different from any other MP5 or MP5 clone that I've held, but they did give it a nice ZF logo there. Now on the topic of charging it, the way I reload this, and I get a lot of questions on why I reload the way I do, and the way I reload it is basically for efficiency. So I'm not really trying to go for that whole cool guy HK slap all the time. I mean, I do it sometimes, but that's just not really the way I like to do it. There's a bunch of different ways to reload an MP5, but I'm gonna show you the way that I reload it. And you can skip ahead of this if you don't wanna see it, but I'm just trying to give viewers that are new to this platform just a little bit more information on this, just in case they were to pick one up. So the way I reload an MP5 platform, it's not like an AR-15 where it's gonna lock back on you on the last round. So whenever you run dry, you're just gonna hear the click. As soon as you hear that click, you're going to reach over, and I don't like reaching over like this. I like to just come directly up and put my pointer finger right onto that charging handle and grab it, pull it back, and lift up. Once I do that, I take my magazine out, grab a new source of ammunition, slap that guy in there. Then from there, I'll just go ahead and acquire my grip like I normally do. And I'll use my thumb to pull back. So I'm doing this motion, I'm pulling back and then down at the same time. So I'll pull back and then down, and it's gonna let that go. And you wanna let that go right when you go down, just because if you were to ride that charging handle and let it go forward slowly, you're gonna most likely not let it go into battery. So just to demonstrate, you go dry, click, bring that back up, new mag in, grip, thumb, and that's all you have to do. Now, a lot of people just know it by putting that magazine in and slapping that down, which is cool. But the reason why I don't like doing that is because as soon as I'm up here, right, I have to go ahead and slap that, reacquire my grip, reacquire my sights. The way I do it, I don't have all that jerking motion or that movement disrupting my sights if I'm already on a certain target. So as soon as I have my mag in, I can just acquire my grip and let go, and I'm right where I want to be. It's going to just be a tiny bit faster, a tiny bit more efficient, but it's enough for me to just say I'm going to do that all the time. And some people are going to say that it's probably not going to be efficient enough because your thumb is smaller than a whole hand slapping that charging handle down, right? But the reason why I like putting these little hand stops or vertical foregrips is because it gives my hand an indexing point on where my thumb is directly going to be every time. So as soon as I get my grip on that vertical foregrip there, my hand's already where I want it to be, as opposed to not having anything. Your hand, as soon as you put the magazine in, your hand can land here, your hand can land here, and your thumb's pretty much going to be in a different position every time. Now, there's nothing wrong with other ways of doing it. That's just the way I do it, and I just want to give you an explanation on why I do it. So there you go. Now moving on to the optic rail. The optic rail is one of the nicer optic rails that have come stock with the firearm here. I didn't mention that with the box earlier because it's already on here and I forgot to mention it, but it does come with the ZF-5. And it does have little notches cut out up top so you can see your serial number and the model of your firearm. But I do want to point out how easy it was to put this one on compared to, say, this one here. Now on this POF here and other MP5 clones that I've owned, the rail that comes stock with it has been a pain in the ass to put on there, just because I usually have to end up drilling from the top to give myself a little bit more space to put that screw into it more, so that way it catches these little hooks that are in there to hook onto the receiver itself. I could never quite get a rail on without altering the rail in some way, and I end up usually scratching my finish on these damn guns because I'm always fidgeting around with these screws, and it's just annoying getting them on the first time. With the ZF-5, I didn't have that issue. The ZF-5, pretty much super easy to install. I put that on, I put those little brackets in there, and I screwed them down and they were good to go right from the get-go. No issues, no drilling that I needed to do. And the design of it actually looks cleaner than the others I have. This is kind of like your generic one that you get on the clone, but this one is its own unique optic rail here. Now, if I didn't already mention it, this coating is a Duracoat. It's kind of like a coyote brown-ish, I guess, if you want to say. So this is like an FDE back here, and this is FDE, but this is like a coyote brown. So I got like 50 shades of FDE thing going on right here. Now, on the same topic of coating, and I'm not trying to shit on this gun here. I like this gun a lot. I like that it's a reverse stretch. I like that it has a metal lower. I like a lot of things about it, but there's a lot of things I don't like about it, and I'm just trying to make a comparison on this one compared to this one. But the coating on this one is garbage. So if you're looking at the front sight here, and if you look at a couple places around it, it's already chipping off. It's not the best coating in the world. And yeah, so you're kind of getting what you pay for in this little guy here. Now, moving on to the rear end here, I do have a SB Tactical side folding brace here that allows me to shoot while it's folded. The ejection will go right over that brace. And I pretty much put SB Tacticals on all of my sub guns, PCCs, my non-SBR firearms. Thank you, ATF. Don't shoot my dog. And I think that makes it look really cool, but that color doesn't quite match up with the actual brown receiver itself, but it is what it is. Now, moving on down to the lower, their trigger housing, whatever you want to call this plastic portion here. You do have their ZF logo right there, and if you're paying attention to that logo, it's actually the front end of this portion here. So at the top, you can see that they have their little front sight there, then you have the middle portion, then you have the barrel portion right there. So I think that's a really unique, cool logo to have. They do throw in a Magpul safety selector. Now that is a huge plus for me because on all the clones, all the MP5s that I've ever held, ever shot that had a stock safety selector, it was just way too far for my little thumbs to reach. Now, this one is actually a little bit more extended out where I don't have to break my grip as much. I can just go ahead and torque my wrist a little bit and actuate that guy down. But other ones that are out there sit way farther than that guy, and it's a pain in the ass to reach it. I have to kind of move my grip over, do this whole thing and kind of actuate it there, or just start here and actuate it like that. It's just not efficient for me. These Magpul ones are pretty much the first upgrade that I go ahead and throw in any of my MP5s. So that is a huge plus right there, and it is ambidextrous where you can reach it on either side. So way to go, Zenith, for that. Now the grip is a nice grip. It's pretty small though, so my hands are pretty small for a normal sized man, but it kind of is treading that line right there of how long it is. So I feel like somebody with bigger hands than me is gonna have a little bit of their palm hanging off of that. So that's probably one thing to consider. You might need to see if that grip is going to be too short, but I actually prefer the short grip, so it's not an issue for me. I just want to point that out for you guys that are freaks of nature with large hands. Now you do have your standard push button mag release here and your standard paddle release down there. I really don't ever use the push button mag release ever. When I'm releasing the magazine, I can't even get anywhere near it with my pointer finger to reach that magazine release. But there are people out there with those freakish hands that can reach that magazine release. But with that said, I just use that paddle release. It's never been an issue for me. Now the trigger. The trigger on an MP5 or MP5 clone isn't really the best trigger in the world, guys. It's just not like an AR trigger, guys. There's no adjustability in it, and there's nothing that's gonna make you shoot this faster other than putting a like binary or a full auto trigger pack. So yeah, guys, you're not gonna get this and say this is one of the best triggers in the world. But on the flip side, this is one of the better MP5 semi-auto triggers that I've felt compared to like this guy here or the other clones that I own. Now this one here has a good amount of play. Then you have that wall, then it gets super gritty, and then you have the brake. But on this one, I'm pretty sure they did something to it where it makes it a little bit more crisp. So you don't have as much play as you would on that POF there, and you don't have a lot of that grittiness that comes behind that one there. I do give it to Zenith for making a better MP5 trigger. Now on the topic of that trigger, the trigger pack itself is not sheet metal. They've machined their own trigger pack to fit with their trigger here, and I'm pretty sure that has something to do with the whole trigger feeling a little bit better than the others that I own. And right on the receiver there, you get your Zenith firearms with that beautiful American flag logo there. It just makes you feel good to have USA on your firearms, right? Now I didn't mention the internals, but I don't want to pull everything out just because I know YouTube doesn't allow gunsmithing, and if I pull it out, I don't want to get flagged for anything stupid. So the bolt itself looks very nice. I did go ahead and put 500 rounds through this, and when I checked out the bolt and inspected it, I didn't see any abnormal wear patterns. Now on the topic of the bolt, I didn't mention that this is a roller delayed operating system. I already know, guys, you that are into MP5s know what that is, but you that aren't into MP5s, I suggest you go and look that up. A roller delayed operating system is one of my favorite operating systems in terms of PCCs or subguns, just because it's one of the softest shooting PCCs that I have ever shot in my life or have ever owned. The mp5, in my general opinion, is the king of the softest shooting platform that shoots a 9mm projectile. Now moving on from the bolt, I want to go ahead and show you guys the welds. So if you're looking at the front here, you got beautiful welds all the way around, and the welds back here on the rear sight, and even the welds here, they are all beautifully done. And just for comparison, I'm going to show you the POF welds. If you're looking at them, they're okay. They're going to hold for sure, but you can tell that they're not as precisely done as the Zenith. So let's go right into reliability. Now, when I first received this Zenith here, I was having failure to extract, and I was having a whole lot of them. Pretty much after I dumped 2 mags completely fine through it, every mag after that, I was having a failure to extract. At least 1 or 2 in each magazine. So what I did was I took it back home, I contacted Zenith, I told them, hey, I'm having these issues. They went ahead and sent me a return label. I sent it to them. I think they got it back to me within a week, and told myself once I get it back, I'm gonna shoot a complete 500 rounds and make sure it's actually good, because that's usually how I initially do my testing. Within those 500 rounds I shot, it is now working perfectly fine. So I just wanted to let you guys know right when I got it, it was having issues. So that kind of made me a little uneasy when it came to the reliability aspect. Still at this point, I know it's working fine. I just want to go farther now. I want to go maybe a couple thousand rounds before I could actually say this is a 100% reliable firearm. Maybe a month down the road, when I shoot a lot more rounds to this, I'll make another video and give you guys an update. Now with that said, who is the ZF-5 for? Now the mp5 platform or clone fits a lot of niches, but it also doesn't fit a lot of niches. The reason why I say it's not probably going to be the best for a lot of people is because it is an outdated platform. It is ideal for those collectors out there. Also, I think it's just looks badass. Honestly, the reason why I got into MP5s was because there's a game called Resident Evil. There's a character on there that's called Hunk that carries around an MP5. When I first started using that character in that game with the MP5, it just made me fall in love with it. So there's some nostalgia for me personally that reminds me of that game every time I'm shooting it. That's kind of why I went with that mask in the beginning. That was kind of the vibe that I was going for. What I'm saying is, I don't think that you should go throughout your life not owning an MP5 or MP5 clone. It's just too cool of a gun to pass up. It's got its quirks, but it's still a very nice shooting gun, a very, very accurate gun. From the other ones that I own, they're very reliable. They work under a lot of different conditions. Overall, I think it is a great offering from Zenith Firearms. I think they're going in a direction where they're going to be able to sell a lot of these. And the reason why I'm saying that is because every year that goes by, our government wants to ban whatever it is they want to ban at whatever time they want to ban it. Right now, we're dealing with the braces again. A couple years ago, we were dealing with import bans on Russian ammo, I believe, and other crap like that. And who knows when they're going to come after imported MP5 clones. Now, if they ever do get to that point, or if you do have a serious issue with those imported guns, to try to get them fixed, unless you go to the actual importer themselves and they have parts or something, or a way to fix it for you guys. I'm not saying they're gonna break like that. I'm just saying just in case. Now, with an American-made MP5 clone, they're made in the US, so you're not gonna have to worry about all that stuff. And on top of that, Zenith Firearms has a limited lifetime warranty, and they also have great customer service. But again, I don't want to tell you how to spend your money. I'm just showing you guys something different, something new that Zenith is coming out with that you probably didn't even know. You probably thought Zenith was out of business, who knows? But I just want to show you that they are making some good things. These are coming around sub $2,000, like $19.98 or something like. I believe there's actually a sale going on right now to the end of the month. It's really up to what you want. Thank you guys for sticking around this video. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much. I appreciate you guys. Love you all. Catch you in the next one.